The night was darker than usual.
I know.
A red moon hung low in the
Promise me we'll
sky,
survive.
casting strange shadows across the dense forest. Every branch seemed alive, every rustle hinting at danger. Deep within, the vampire queen, Selara, moved silently. Her black cloak trailed behind her like smoke. Her eyes glowed faintly, scanning the trees for her target, a rogue vampire who had dared to betray her. Selara was powerful, feared by all, but tonight something felt wrong. The forest was too quiet. Her instincts screamed at her, warning her that she was not alone. Suddenly, a sharp pain shot through her side. She stumbled, dropping her dagger. She had been ambushed. A group of shadowy figures emerged from the darkness, their weapons glinting in the moonlight. Selara hissed, baring her fangs, but she could barely stand. Her enemies were fast, trained, and ruthless. They had come for her. Selara lunged at one of them, but her strength was fading. A slash across her arm sent her sprawling to the ground. She tried to rise, but dizziness overwhelmed her. For the first time in centuries, Selara felt fear. Real, sharp fear. Then she saw him. A human. Not a soldier, not a hunter, just a man. He was young, his clothes torn and muddy from running through the forest, but there was a light in his eyes that made Selara pause. He looked at her, not with terror, but with concern. The shadowy figures turned toward him. One moved to attack, but the human was quicker than he seemed. He grabbed a torch from the ground and swung it, forcing the attackers to step back. In that moment, Selara could only watch. He was risking his life for her. A vampire queen. Someone who could kill him in an instant. The human didn't hesitate. He pulled something from his bag, a small bottle filled with glowing liquid. He dashed forward and poured it onto Selara's wounds. The pain eased slightly, and her strength began to return. Her eyes widened. Why would you help me?" she whispered, her voice weak but sharp. The human looked her in the eye. "No one should die alone," he said simply. His words were quiet but full of courage. Selara had faced armies, monsters, and countless humans who had tried to kill her, yet none had ever risked their life for her. She felt something strange, a mix of curiosity, confusion, and admiration. She wanted to question him, to demand why he would care, but the attackers were not waiting. Selara rose to her feet, leaning on the human for support. Together, they ran deeper into the forest, the red moon above them casting long shadows on the ground. The attackers shouted, chasing them through the trees, but the human led her through hidden paths and narrow clearings, avoiding traps and ambushes. At one point, a fallen tree blocked their path. The human jumped over it effortlessly, turning to help her. Selara, with her fading strength, struggled. He grabbed her hand firmly, pulling her up. She felt her heart beat faster, not from fear, but something else, something she did not expect. Finally, they reached a small clearing. The human stopped and looked back, breathing heavily. Selara stood beside him, her dark cloak torn, her eyes wide with shock and a strange respect. You saved me," she said again, this time with a hint of disbelief. "I had to," the human replied, his eyes steady. "I couldn't just leave you." Selara studied him closely. His hands were rough, his face marked with scratches, but there was bravery there. Real bravery. She realized something important in that moment. Humans were unpredictable. Dangerous, yes, but also capable of surprising courage. A howl echoed through the forest. Selara's attackers were regrouping. The human tensed, ready to fight again. Selara felt a spark of something she had not felt in centuries. Hope. Perhaps, with this human, she could survive. And yet, a question burned in her mind. Why would a human risk everything to save a vampire queen? Her answer would come soon. The forest was quiet now, but the air was thick with tension. Selara leaned against a large tree, her cloak torn and bloodied. Her eyes, usually cold and commanding, were wide with uncertainty. The human, Ethan, stood nearby, brushing dirt from his clothes. His chest rose and fell rapidly from running, but his eyes were calm, alert. "Are you always this reckless?" Selara asked, her voice sharp but tinged with curiosity. Ethan shrugged. Not really. But you weren't safe out there. His words were simple, yet they carried weight. He didn't explain why, and Selara didn't press. She could feel it, something different about him. Most humans feared her. Some tried to kill her. But he had risked his life to save her. A vampire queen, vulnerable and wounded. Suddenly, a rustle in the bushes made them both freeze. Selara's fangs extended slightly, a reflex she could not hide. Ethan stepped forward. "I've got this," he said quietly, and picked up a long branch from the ground. He held it like a weapon, though it seemed ordinary. Two figures emerged, Selara's followers, loyal but distrustful of humans. Their eyes narrowed when they saw Ethan. "You've brought a human with you?" One of them hissed. "This is madness, Selara. Humans are weak. They cannot be trusted." Selara straightened, her eyes glowing faintly. "He saved me. He risked his life. That is enough for now." The followers exchanged uneasy glances. One of them muttered, "Do you really trust him?" Selara didn't answer. She didn't know, and that uncertainty made her uneasy. Humans were unpredictable. Some could be brave, some cruel, but trusting one was dangerous. As they moved through the forest, Ethan proved his worth in small ways. He spotted a hidden pit trap and warned Selara, saving her from falling. He quickly climbed a small cliff, pulling her up when her weakened strength faltered. Each time, Selara's respect for him grew, though she would never admit it aloud. "You really think you can survive in this world?" she asked quietly as they walked. Ethan smiled faintly. "I survive, one way or another, and you might need me." Selara's eyes narrowed. He was bold, confident, perhaps even foolish. But there was something in his courage that stirred a long-forgotten feeling in her. Admiration. She had faced humans for centuries, but none had been like this. None had risked their life for a vampire. Night deepened, and the shadows of the forest grew longer. Ethan paused by a stream to catch his breath. Selara watched him, noticing the way he looked around, alert to every sound. He was ordinary, yet extraordinary. "You could have run," she said softly, almost to herself. "I could have," Ethan replied. "But I didn't. You needed help." Selara felt a strange pull in her chest. She had ruled kingdoms, fought wars, and commanded loyalty from creatures stronger than humans. Yet, this one human, who should have been weak, was showing her more courage than anyone she had ever known. A sudden snap of a branch made them both spin around. Shadows moved swiftly, hunters returning to finish what they had started. Selara readied herself to attack, but Ethan stepped forward. "Wait," he whispered. "Not yet. I have an idea." He picked up Selara allowed herself a small, private nod. Trust was not easy, not for a vampire queen. But perhaps, with Ethan by her side, she might have a chance to survive the dangers that were coming. And yet, deep in the shadows, someone was watching them. A figure who did not trust Ethan at all. A betrayal might be closer than Selara realized. The forest grew darker, the red moon now hidden behind thick clouds. Selara and Ethan moved quietly, the night air filled with the distant howls of predators. Every step forward was careful, every shadow a potential threat. Selara noticed something different about Ethan tonight. He moved with a confidence that didn't match his ordinary appearance. His hands were steady, his eyes sharp, and he seemed to anticipate danger before it arrived. "You're hiding something," she said suddenly, her voice low but commanding. Ethan paused, glancing at her. "Maybe," he replied simply, as if it were a harmless secret. Selara narrowed her eyes. For centuries, she had been able to sense lies, intentions, and hidden powers. Humans rarely surprised her, but Ethan did. There was more to him than met the eye. Suddenly, a loud crash echoed through the trees. Selara's followers, those who distrusted Ethan, had set an ambush. A group of elite vampire hunters, clad in dark armor and glowing symbols, emerged from the shadows. They were faster and stronger than any human opponents, and Selara's weakened state made her vulnerable. "Stay back," Selara shouted, baring her fangs, ready to attack. Ethan didn't step back. Instead, He reached into his satchel and pulled out a small, glowing device. It hummed softly, casting an eerie blue light. Selara blinked, astonished. Humans had never possessed anything like this. "What is that?" she demanded, her voice tense. Ethan didn't answer. He pressed a button, and suddenly, the hunters froze, their movements sluggish as if invisible chains held them. Ethan moved between Selara and the hunters, guiding her carefully while keeping the device active. Selara realized she had underestimated him. This human, ordinary in appearance, fragile in body, held power that rivaled the hunter's own strength. And yet, he had kept it hidden until now. One hunter broke free from the device's effect and lunged at Selara. Without hesitation, Ethan pushed her aside and grabbed a handful of stones, hurling them with perfect aim. The hunter stumbled and fell, giving Selara the chance to strike. Together, they fought with a rhythm that surprised even Selara. When the last hunter fell, the forest returned to an uneasy silence. Selara's heart pounded, not from fear but from shock. She had faced powerful vampires, monsters, and entire armies. Yet this human had changed the outcome of a battle she thought she would lose. "You," Selara began, her voice almost a whisper. "You saved me again, and you didn't even tell me what that was." Ethan looked down at the device, holding it carefully. "It's old, very old. A tool humans once used long ago to fight being stronger than us." He paused, his eyes meeting hers. "I didn't tell you before because I wasn't sure I could trust you, and because I wanted to see if you would survive without it." Selara stared at him, stunned. Trust? Survival? The audacity of this human was remarkable. Most humans ran at the sight of her fangs. Most humans never dared to defy fate itself. But Ethan, he had risked everything, hidden his power, and still fought by her side. For the first time, Selara felt a strange warmth, a respect for humanity she had never known. Humans were fragile, yes. Weak, yes. But brave? Resourceful? Determined? Perhaps they were more than she had ever imagined. A distant howl pulled Selara from her thoughts. Ethan noticed it too, his hand on the device, ready. "They're not done," he said calmly. Selara nodded. "No, they're not. But neither are we." As they moved deeper into the forest, she realized something important. Survival in this world was not about power alone. It was about cleverness, courage, and loyalty. And in Ethan, she saw all of that, and more. For the first time in centuries, Selara allowed herself to think that maybe, just maybe, this human could change the fate of the vampire queen. And yet, a shadow followed them silently, watching Ethan's every move. Not all allies were what they seemed. A betrayal waited in the dark, ready to strike when they least expected it. The night air had grown colder. Mist curled around the trees, hiding shadows that moved silently. Selara and Ethan walked cautiously, their senses alert. Every step they took seemed to echo in the forest, yet unseen eyes watched them. Selara could feel it, a presence that did not belong. Something dangerous, something close. Her followers, the ones who distrusted Ethan, had not disappeared. They were somewhere in the darkness, their loyalty to her now mixed with doubt and suspicion. "Stay close," she whispered to Ethan. "Not everyone here trusts you." Ethan nodded, his hand hovering near the glowing device he carried. "I know, but I don't plan to run." They reached a clearing where the moonlight barely touched the ground. Selara's heart skipped a beat when she noticed movement in the shadows. One of her followers stepped forward. Mara, a vampire of great skill and ambition, blocked their path. Her eyes glinted with anger and suspicion. "You brought a human with you." Mara spat, her voice sharp. "Do you not see what danger this invites? Do you trust him blindly?" Selara's fangs flashed briefly. "He has saved my life twice tonight. That is proof enough." Mara's expression hardened. "You will regret this. Humans cannot be trusted. They lie. They betray. Watch closely, he will prove it." Ethan's eyes narrowed, but he said nothing. He knew words could not convince a vampire who already doubted him. Instead, he stayed alert, waiting for the first move. Suddenly, A loud snap echoed from behind them. Selara turned just in time to see a group of vampire hunters, more organized and better armed than before, surrounding the clearing. Mara's eyes flicked to Ethan, a knowing smirk on her face. "Do you see?" Mara whispered. "You're human." He led them here. Selara's mind raced. Could Ethan have betrayed her? But then she saw it. Ethan's hand motioning subtly, tossing a stone to distract the hunters, redirecting their movement. He was not betraying her. He was buying her time. Selara's respect for him deepened, but the danger was far from over. The hunters advanced with deadly precision. One moved to strike Selara from behind, but Ethan reacted instantly, blocking the attack and throwing the hunter off balance. Together, Selara and Ethan fought, their movements synchronized in a deadly dance. Mara watched, silent now, realizing her suspicion might have been wrong. The human, fragile, ordinary, yet brave, was holding his own against creatures stronger than most vampires. After the battle, when the hunters fled into the forest, Selara's chest heaved as she caught her breath. Ethan stood beside her, calm despite the scratches and bruises marking his face. "You didn't betray me," Selara said softly, almost in disbelief. You risked everything." Ethan smiled faintly, wiping blood from his hand. "I never intended to betray you. I'm not here for power or reward. I only want to survive with you." Selara studied him. His bravery, his cleverness, his calm under pressure. Humans could be unpredictable, yes, but they were capable of things she had never expected. And Ethan proved that today. Mara stepped forward, her pride wounded. Perhaps humans are not entirely useless," she muttered reluctantly, though her voice still carried doubt. Selara didn't answer. Instead, she focused on the larger threat, the Vampire Council. Their assassination attempt had failed tonight, but the Council was still out there, plotting her downfall. She knew that without Ethan's courage and cunning, she might not survive the coming days. As they moved deeper into the forest, Selara realized something important. Trust was dangerous, yes, but sometimes necessary. The human beside her, ordinary in appearance yet extraordinary in spirit, was more than an ally. He was a force that could change the fate of the Vampire Queen. And somewhere in the darkness, Mara's eyes followed them, a mixture of admiration and suspicion in her gaze. Trust, betrayal, and loyalty, all were tangled in ways Selara could not yet predict. The night whispered secrets as they continued, and the forest seemed alive with unseen eyes. Tomorrow, the council would strike again. But tonight, the Vampire Queen had learned something vital. Courage could come from the most unexpected place. The forest was silent, almost eerily so. A thick fog rolled over the ground, hiding everything except the faint glow of the red moon above. Selara and Ethan moved cautiously, each step measured. The Vampire Queen's senses were alert, sharper than ever, but she could feel it. Tonight, the council's assassins would not wait. "They're coming," Ethan whispered, his hand tightening on the glowing device. Selara nodded. "Then we end this tonight." Her voice was calm, but her eyes burned with determination. For centuries, she had faced countless enemies, but this was different. The council's wrath was organized, relentless, and cunning. They would not underestimate her again. The first wave struck from the shadows, vampires faster than Selara had ever seen, armed with silver-tipped blades and glowing sigils. Selara's fangs flashed as she launched into the fight, her movements swift and deadly. Ethan was at her side, using the device and clever traps to slow their enemies. Together, they were unstoppable, a perfect combination of raw power and human ingenuity. Selara caught one assassin mid-strike, her claws ripping through the attacker's armor. She glanced at Ethan, who had just tripped another enemy with a simple, clever trick. Her respect for him had grown over the past nights, but now it had transformed into something deeper. Humans were fragile, yes, but they could think, adapt, and act with courage beyond imagining. Amid the chaos, Mara appeared, watching the battle unfold. Even she could not deny it. Ethan's bravery and skill were extraordinary. She stepped forward, joining Selara, their combined force overwhelming the remaining attackers. "Move with me," Selara commanded. "Together, we end this." Ethan nodded, following her lead. He used his device to create barriers, slow the enemies, and disarm them without killing unnecessarily. Selara moved like a shadow, striking with precision. Side by side, human and vampire fought as one. The battle reached its peak when the Council's strongest assassin emerged, a towering vampire with glowing red eyes and an aura of darkness. Selara met him head-on, but even she struggled against his strength. Ethan noticed her difficulty and quickly devised a plan. He grabbed a handful of sharp stones, tossing them into the assassin's eyes to blind him briefly. Then, using the device, he created a force field that pushed the vampire back. Selara seized the moment, striking with all her strength. The assassin fell defeated. The forest grew quiet again. The fog hung in the air, and the moonlight revealed the aftermath. Fallen enemies, shattered weapons, and two figures standing victorious. Selara's cloak was torn, her body bruised, but her eyes were fierce and proud. Ethan, though battered, stood tall, his breathing steady, his gaze unwavering. Selara approached him, her expression unreadable. You saved my life more times than I can count," she said softly. I underestimated you." Ethan smiled faintly. "Maybe humans are stronger than you think," he replied, his voice simple but full of truth. Selara studied him for a long moment, then nodded. "You have my respect, not as a human, as an equal in this fight." Ethan's eyes widened slightly, but he nodded in acknowledgement. It was not immortality he wanted, not power, but respect, earned through courage and loyalty. And tonight, he had proven himself worthy. Mara stepped forward, her voice quieter than before. "Perhaps humans are not entirely weak," she admitted, though she still carried doubt in her eyes. Selara looked toward the horizon, the first hints of dawn breaking the night. The council had been defeated, at least for now, but the forest whispered secrets. New threats would come. Yet, she felt hope, something she had not felt in centuries. With humans like Ethan, allies could come from the most unexpected places. Ethan turned to leave, ready to return to the human world. Selara's eyes followed him, and for the first time, she felt gratitude beyond survival. "You may go," she said. "But know this, you have changed my world. You have changed me." He nodded, a small smile on his face. "I did what I had to. That's all." As he disappeared into the forest, Selara stood alone for a moment, feeling a strange warmth in her chest. Courage, loyalty, and wisdom. It came in forms she had never expected. Humans were fragile, yes, but they could be brave, clever, and life-changing. And in that moment, the Vampire Queen understood something vital. Survival was not about power alone. It was about courage, heart, and unexpected allies. The red moon faded as dawn approached. The forest was quiet, but the legend of a human who had saved a vampire queen and changed her forever was just beginning.